This one's for all the guys that are throwing the hover strolling technique and the bottom strolling, or the jig and minnow, whatever you want to call it. People call it a bunch of different things. You don't technically need forward-facing sonar for this bait. It's taken over bass fishing and everybody's using it on forward-facing sonar, but you don't technically need it for that. I'm standing right here on the bank. I've caught a couple of largemouth and smallmouth with it so far this morning. Also, you don't have to use it just as a bass lure either. You can upsize it and downsize it and use it for a bunch of different stuff. Crappies eat it, bass eat it, stripers eat it, walleyes eat it, pretty much a little bit of everything. So first of all, if you're having trouble with getting that rolling action, that's the hallmark of this technique, is that shimmy from side to side that you get, and that subtle tail action on a lot of the baits that you use when you're fishing this technique. If you're having issues with that, there are specially made jig heads out on the market that you can get to help you with that. This is the Queen Tackle Tungsten Rollin' Strollin' Jig Head. This is paired up with a Rapala Crush City Mooch minnow. What I found that also helps me get that rolling action are baits that are elastic, or the baits that are more buoyant and don't have as much salt in them. Those baits tend to roll better, and they do a better job at being fished for suspended fish, or when the fish are higher in the water column, or schooling, and things like that. The baits that are heavily salted and sink quickly have a little bit harder time at being fished like that. As far as it goes with tying your line, a tip that I can give you is tying a loop knot on most of the jig heads. Unless you buy one of the specially made jig heads that come with one of the little rings on it, and you just tie it direct to that ring instead of tying a loop knot. You don't have to tie a loop knot when they come with that little welded ring on them. Another tip is, if you're having issues with getting your bait to roll, instead of going straight through the nose like everybody normally does, you go through about a 1/4 inch behind the head and keep that hook shallow across the body of the bait, across the top, and it makes it top end heavy, and it will roll it side to side more aggressively. Another thing you might want to do is play with the different sizes and different weights of heads. Not all baits pair well with all heads. You want to find which ones work with which baits and which heads work with which baits and stuff like that, and you want to play with your weights. One more thing that I can tell you about fishing this technique is that you want to fish it with more slack in your line than you think you need. When you're fishing it on a tight line, it's hard to get that thing to roll. I'm shaking the rod, you see, but I'm not getting a whole lot of action out of this bait right now. It's rolling a little bit, but not so much. If you incorporate some slack in your line, I'm popping it and throwing slack in it, I'm taking a little bit longer in between jerks, and I'm getting a way better roll.